My name is Eladio Gomez, and Manolo and I have worked together for probably 20 plus years, and I live in Phoenix. I teach at ASU, and yeah, we came out here as a group. There's one other person that left to have a series of gatherings, both with the Center for Convivial Research and Autonomy, but with Fred Moten and Stefano Harney, and trying to actually have some of these conversations in a contemporary context.
Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining us. But we've been talking about this stuff for a long time.
Let's just say 2 decades.
2 decades, and of course, we never thought we'd be actually professors. We weren't supposed to actually finish. We were just using the academy to fund us without really thinking about finishing. And then we decided to finish to eat. But it's so good to have you all here and have you all. So
when does the book come out?
September.
September?
September. So I'll be back. But again, I'm gonna say one more time. I appreciate being here. I really am on another level honored to be able to write about Magdalena Mora and your sister and the work that she did and recover that, because it's less known, right? But also, to be here with you, and this is an appropriate place to start whatever is going to happen as a consequence of this.
let me start off with introductions. I'm Manolo Callahan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm part of the Center for Convivial Research and Autonomy, and also teach here in the Mexican American Studies Department here at San Jose State, and involved in several other projects, but most particularly Universidad de la Tierra Califas is one of our kind of key projects. So I'll just kind of pass it on to you.
Okay. My name is Gregorio Mora Torres, and I've been lecturer here for a long time, Mexican American Studies, and I'm doing local, regional Chicano history.
My name is Stephanie. I'm a student at Dianza, and my professor, Felipe Ponce, told us to come here for extra credit.
All right.
And I guess no one else did.
I'm Dr. Ramon Martinez. I'm a retired K-12 educator and a graduate of Mexican American Studies, 1970.
I'm Marcos Pizarro. I teach here Mexican American Studies. Welcome. Always good to have Dianza students here. We hope you think about transferring to San Jose State. But I'm excited to be here. Sorry I have to leave early, but I want to get in as much as I could.
I'm Ashley Cooper. I live in Phoenix. Traveled out for this weekend to get together with some folks from the CCRA doing this work, and I'm a graduate student at ASU and doing organizing work in Phoenix.
I'm Carla Pasha. I'm also a grad student in Arizona State. I study anthropology, and I wrote poetry. I'm from Pakistan.
Well, great. So, yeah, it's great to have folks from the as you said. Well, I think we were talking about how to kind of work today, and again, we want to be informal, but I think we want to also kind of contextualize the work that Alan wants to share with us. And it's funny because we were at the Oakland Book Festival talking about conviviality and convivial research, and I mention that because that is very much part of the work we've been doing for the last 20 some odd years, and finding a way to make that work kind of more consistent, more available, and essentially institutionalize it without it becoming unworkable, right? So we had an opportunity to talk about the Universidad de la Tierra Califas and how the Universidad de la Tierra Califas emerged and its history, and of course Alan was very much tied to that history. And when we talk about that, when we convene Universidad de la Tierra, we talk about that history, we always start out referencing the Tertulia that we had organized as a kind of a fundamental autonomous learning space. And the Tertulia we have every Friday at 5 o'clock, and in a local bar. And the argument that we were making in convening the Tertulia was, of course, to reclaim a cultural practice that is common in the Spanish-speaking world and to politicize it and to use it as a convivial tool for our own purpose. And of course, at that time, the argument we were making, and of course, we were part of a broader movement, it was to hold the Centers for Mexican American Studies accountable and to try to reform the centers. And so that project, the focus of that project was to kick out directors that we felt had betrayed community obligations and had become self-serving and opportunistic and abandoned any kind of community agenda. And so that was, at the time, late 90s, both in the late 80s through the 90s, that was the battle, to kind of reclaim the centers. And every campus was having those battles, right? Here in California, Texas, Arizona. And we were at the center of it, and our effort was, of course, to confront the administration, including, the Chicano administration, and at the same time try to construct our own alternatives. And that was, of course, the Tertulia. The Tertulia, we were arguing at the time, could do everything that the Center for Mexican American Studies could do. It created a space for us to network, share, create new knowledge, support research, host scholars, and also generate a collective community-based research for and out of the community, right? So that was the fundamental kind of convivial tool that we were thinking through at the time. And of course, it coincided with the kind of emergence of the Zapatistas and the Zapatistas' kind of strategy of, they were starting to call it at the time, the politics of encounter. And the idea being that we could convene spaces of learning and of knowledge production and find a way to not be consumed by our battle with the institution. And I think our question then, and this is a question that Alana and I have been struggling with for 20 years. It hurts every time you say 20 years. I get nervous when 20 years. Is how to get beyond solidarity. The question that we were struggling with in that moment throughout the 80s and in the early 2000s was how to get beyond solidarity. And what we meant by that, of course, is that it was still fundamental to engage solidarity efforts. And one of our main focuses, of course, was supporting the Zapatista communities as they were confronting low-intensity conflict in Chiapas and other indigenous communities in Oaxaca. So the idea was that we couldn't abandon things like obligations to support those communities. And at the same time, we were also trying to heed the call of the Zapatistas to take on an armed struggle and create an alternative to capital in the state in our own locales. And so that was for us kind of the key idea around getting beyond solidarity. How's it going? Glad you could join us. We've all introduced ourselves.
Oh.
Quickly, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, my name is Ariadna Alonso. I'm a second-year political science major.
So we're just getting started. We're gonna just try and provide a little context for our for Alon's presence here, and then Alon will present a little bit of his book, and then we'll open up the discussion. So I'm just talking a little bit about our past history at the University of Texas at Austin and our effort around convivial research and insurgent learning and how we were organizing that through various spaces, autonomous learning spaces, and some of the questions that we were struggling with at that time. And again, as I was saying, one of those questions is how to get beyond solidarity and what that looks like in a practical way. So that was one question. I think the other question that we've been struggling with, which is one that I think is been one of the more difficult ones that we've been thinking about is how to think through cycles of struggle and the circulation of struggle. And we were very close to Harry Cleaver and a certain school of autonomous Marxism that, of course, argues that capital is always responding to the political and creative energies of the working class, and the oppositions of the working class that are always present. And we were trying to think through and the questions that autonomous Marxism were posing at the time, in the sense that they were arguing that the opposition of the working class can be kind of narrated through several cycles. And of course, neoliberalism and the rise of neoliberalism and the Zapatista's confrontation of neoliberalism in '94 marked a particular cycle. So one of our questions, of course, was that those cycles didn't necessarily correspond with the cycles of struggle that we were trying to think through in terms of Chicanismo, and what would be a Chicano. What would be a Chicano's narrative that had different cycles of struggle? So we've been thinking through that for some time. And I think, of course, then revolutionary imaginations and imaginaries also speak to some degree what different cycles of struggle we might be thinking